Welcome to this episode of The Rise of Women's Football. And of course, I do have a special guest here today. He was the head coach of the Netherlands national team women's and the head coach of one of the famous football clubs for women's football, the Portland Thorns. Welcome, Mark Parsons. Happy that I have you here today.
Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yes. You have an amazing CV. You were born and grew up in England. Your first experience as a coach were for the Chelsea women's reserve team. Later, you moved to the US. And in the year of 2015, you became the coach of Portland Thorns, a very special club we are talking about later. So, how are you today? First question.
Yeah, I'm doing good, and we're going to be talking about women's football, but not just today's version, because the women's game has grabbed a lot of new fans over the last 12 months, or even I think of the 2019 World Cup in France. We grabbed a load of new people. We're going to go back 10, 12 years maybe. I'm looking forward to it, and of course to be able to share and talk and listen and learn. To reflect is always a good process. I'm excited.
What was your first reaction when you hear about the project, the rise of women's football?
Yeah, I'm very passionate about the development of women's football, and to see that people are committing energy and time and finances into this space, it's crucial. We all have a responsibility to develop and also I'd say protect the well-being of this game, this incredible game that in the last few years has just been exploding, which is great and amazing, but also can come with some dangers or threats. So how we look to support the most vulnerable, which is often the players, but also look to support and help develop everyone, especially women in the women's football.
Let's talk about you personally. How does it come that you became a coach, and when did you know that you want to become a coach?
Yeah, well, actually, I don't say this often, but I remember being 9 or 10 years old and I was playing Championship Manager, which then became later on Football Manager. When everyone else was playing FIFA, I was playing this type of game, which is where you make your signings, you pick your team, your tactics. But I didn't have the console or the computer to play it, so I often had to go to my friends and waste 6 hours, spend 6 hours playing this. But when I was 14 or 15, my neighbor said, "Mark, can you come and help our 10 or 11-year-old team?" And yeah, for me it was, I was 14, 15 and I was taking on the world. I thought I was be a professional football player, but the excitement and the joy of someone saying, "Come and help the kids train and play." So I started when I was 15, and I'd say the most significant message to myself was when I was 16, 17, I personally had a really big game to play in, but my little under 14, U14 team, boys, had their little cup final, the local little cup final. But I went to the cup final to help coach, to help the boys, rather than play in my big game, which, I got fined. I probably fell out of favor with this coach at the time. And then, even my dad would say, what, you're crazy, what are you doing? But helping, the feeling of helping and supporting people is very important to me. But also when I make a commitment, and of course I made a commitment to my playing team as a player. But here there were kids, and this was a big day for them. So I started young, and I would say when I was 18, actually, I bumped into a friend who worked at Chelsea. He said that he was a coach who coached kids and adults, and he even got paid sometimes for coaching. And I thought, no, this is no way that coaching is a job. At this time, I was still playing. That conversation probably changed my life, because I was become conscious that coaching was a job that at that time I didn't believe could be a career, but was a job. Almost immediately I stopped playing and I committed everything I could to coaching, and to the point where I was coaching 1 hour a day with no money and borrowing money to survive. But I really wanted to coach, and started coaching for Chelsea in the community, in the schools or in the streets, just trying to get people in football. And then from there, a worthwhile journey ahead to the women's game, which is where I feel like I've always belonged.
That's a very interesting and great story. So I can hear there was never a plan B if maybe coaching couldn't work for some reason.
If you say, what's plan B? Impossible. There was never a plan B. Maybe another way of saying is when I was in school and you're in class and the teacher could be teaching anything. But if there was a window and I could see grass, I could maybe think or see football, then all I was thinking was football, and it wasn't very academic. At the age of 18, which is way too late, when I realized that I could be a coach and help people and become conscious that maybe I had not been helping them very well, because you start getting educated as a coach, I became extremely academic, reading, learning, studying, and trying to understand technology more so I can cut film. Actually, when I was 21 with the Chelsea reserve team, Tuesday, Thursday evenings, I had my TV from my bedroom and my DVD player from my bedroom in my car, because before training, we would record on a camera, I would transport to DVD, and then I would write down the times for us to review video. My point is, as soon as I found coaching, I've become very academic and much more interested in learning and education, even with technology, because I really wanted to help people to the maximum, and I wanted to do as much as I could.
I really can feel that this passion is always with you somehow. So when was the point that you came to women's football and not to men's football?
Yeah, so when I was at Chelsea Football Club, yes, in the community working with the kids, but you have the girls' academy, you have the boys' academy. And at this time, I was always asking anyone at Chelsea, well, let me step back. I could sit in my office and I could watch Carlo Ancelotti or Gus Hiddink or Jose Mourinho, Felipe Scolari, Brazilian coach. I could see the first team and I could see some of the best coaches in the world working, but I never had interaction where I could really ask. But on the closer to where I worked, we had the academies. I would ask everyone questions. I would ask everyone for help. A lot of people did help, but one person maybe could put up with my energy or my intensity. But one person really opened the doors to say, come and watch our team train. That was Keith Harms. He was with the under-16 Chelsea Girls Academy. And he said, come and watch, come and help. And I remember at the end of one summer, he called me and said, Mark, I really have pushed hard that we have assistant coaches next year, and I really want you to become my assistant coach. Yeah, so first of all, for him to listen to my questions and then offer an opportunity. He now to this day, we text every 2 or 3 days. He's a very special friend, a great mentor. And while there's been many who have helped him right at the most impressionable years, he was in girls and women's football. He showed me the world of girls and women's football, and yeah, I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. But to see the special side of football that maybe I would not have seen if it wasn't for him.
If you tell me all this, it sounds so easily. So every step goes after the next one. But were there any challenge becoming a professional coach?
Yeah, loads. I would say the first biggest challenge is the impact, of course, it has on family or friends. The amount of things that I have missed over the years, but I'm very lucky and fortunate to have the most special wife who not only puts up with me and my energy to want to take on the world, she also puts up with this profession, which is very demanding. And I'm very grateful to have such a wonderful wife, but also such a special mother to our daughter. And over all the years of my 10-year-old daughter, my wife probably has felt very alone at times. And while I try my best to get that balance right, I haven't always been good. I would say that's the biggest challenge. How do you balance the most important people in your life with also this profession that demands everything of you? But actually, something that had a big impact on my whole career. When I was younger, I was pursuing my coaching badges. I did my UEFA B license at 19. After a year or two, I felt like it was time I was ready and prepared to do the UEFA A license. And one, this was expensive and it takes a big commitment, and am I ready because I'm so young? It's not normal. But I approached my bosses at the time to do this, and actually I was hit with a lot of negativity. And what happened at that point, when I was still quite young and impressionable, that I was talked out of doing my UEFA A license. For your own development, are you ready? So I said, yeah, no, I understand. So maybe in 12 months I'll look to do this. I set myself development targets and worked very hard to improve my own knowledge. So the time comes, a year later, I speak to the same bosses, and they said the same thing. I don't know if this is right for you. And what I actually felt in the end was, if I continue with my coaching badges and I continue my development, maybe that I would move on to other opportunities and not be in the situation that I was in, which wouldn't be good for the people that were advising me. So once I felt that brick wall, after 12 months of developing myself, I booked my holiday, I used all my money and started my UEFA A license. And me and my girlfriend at the time, who's become obviously my wife, we didn't go on holiday probably for 2 years, maybe longer, because it's expensive. And we made a big commitment for our future, my development, to do the UEFA A license. My point is, there's always going to be people who say no or not sure, and you have to live your journey, you have to live your path, and you have to be responsible for when it is the right time and how you may do it. Relying on other people or giving them power to have a say in your journey, is, I don't think, too smart. And I take that when a player asks me, what should I do? And my biggest responsibility is, where are you going? What do you want? What are you passionate about? What's the most important things to you? Because otherwise it's my opinion on what they should do. And I don't agree with that. Trying to empower people to understand who they are. And I went for a little rough journey to do that. But in the end, it's the long path. But I got to where I wanted to get to and had an unbelievable experience on the UEFA A license, meeting amazing people another key step that really changed the trajectory of my career.
You talked about your family, that's very important for you. How was it to move with them from the UK to the US?
Yeah, so it's just me and my wife at the time. We moved to Virginia in the US, and my daughter was not born yet. Actually, we were 24 years old. If we reflect now, we had this conversation with friends a couple of months ago. Could you do it again? So we think back and we look at each other and go, how crazy were we? 24 years old, we leave our families. This was the time where we had Skype, so it wasn't like we were writing letters, but it wasn't as easy as FaceTime or whatever. So we could Skype family, but we took off to the US with a few pounds or dollars to our name, and built our life and also built our family in the US. 5 years in Virginia and then 6 years in Portland, Oregon. Crazy, but exciting. Met so many great people. And these experiences, of course, have helped us become, there's lots of challenges. And there were a lot of long days and tears and, borrowing money maybe to just get through a flight home to see people at Christmas, not coming home for Christmas for 3 years because we didn't have the money. There was tough times, but also really important experiences that I think today, in this more complicated world, it's a lot more complicated today with technology. I think those experiences are helping us, and we're well traveled and we've seen a bit of everything.
Sports in general, but especially football, is about success. So what would you say? What was your biggest disappointment in your journey? That's a good question. Because actually, reality, you have disappointments each week, each month, you think of the
periods. I've coached professionally for 12 years, but I've actually been coaching for 20 years. Of course, lots of disappointment. And I say that because, especially with social media now, we think that everything is perfect and you win all the time and everything is amazing. It's not the reality, especially anyone that has been successful. When you ask me this, I think of a game. I think of a picture, actually. There is a picture of players on the pitch after this game. I moved to the Portland Thorns end of 2015. Our first season was 2016. The end of the story is we lose a playoff game in extra time, but I'll rewind. 2016 is the first season. They finished 6th the season before. Nadine Anger actually just retired and become goalkeeping coach, was on the staff with me. We had an amazing season. We finished first place in the league. We win a trophy for this, but then you go to playoffs. We have 21,000 in Providence Park, the best stadium that I've ever been, the best fan base and crowd I've ever been. And everyone in that stadium, until the final whistle blew, you could feel it, knew we were going to win. This was what we were meant to do. We'd finished first. We were going to win this game. We lost 4-3 in extra time. And even with 10 seconds left, everyone in the stadium, yeah, we will score. That's what we do. That's what this team, the destiny of this team was supposed to win the championship this year. Yeah, the whistle goes. This 21,000, complete silence. I can goosebumps and I can thinking of it now. This noise. And then the image of players and staff and fans everywhere. And I can see my wife and daughter over there in the stand opposite me, the dugout. And yeah, this feeling I had, and right then I said, I will never ever feel this again. But there is a picture with players. They are just collapsed. They are empty, and everyone is in a state of shock. And then the added bonus is the team I left, Washington, that we were bottom and we'd built up. They were in the championship. So my former team was about to play my new team, and that I had been a part of building both. I missed that opportunity. But most importantly, these players, the image of them on the pitch when the whistle went, still with me today. Good news is we came back and we won the championship the year after. But the feeling for me is those players did everything. Did we as staff do everything? And actually, I don't think you can ever say yes. And that drives me to today. 9-10 years later, when I'm helping people, I really want to do everything I can to make sure they have the most chance of success.
Thank you for sharing this story with us. So in order to this, do you regret something?
Yeah. Actually, if you ask me about specific events, regret, honestly, my answer most of the time is no. With the information and the principles I used, I think I took a deliberate, intentional way of making a decision there or acting a certain way. But actually, when I think of regrets, the early years of coaching professionally, so 2012 to 2016, 17, these years, first 5 years, the balance of supporting athletes and staff and the balance of taking care of my family and myself and being present and being there for them, I wasn't very good at that balance. And I don't know if you ever can be good when you're in elite high performance sport, but I could have been better. I am much better today, and it's unfortunately you are 7 days a week, you are 16 hours, 18 hours a day when you're involved. But how can you use those moments? How do you organize yourself to be able to be there with and for your family? The way it's impacted me today is when I'm working with staff, when I'm working with players, I like to, and it takes a lot of work, but here is the next 12 months calendar. This is every single day commitment that we have. Here is where you have your days off. Here is where you have lots of days off. Of course, for players, it's critical. You've got to do that for players because otherwise how can they expect them to perform? But I do this for the staff and I say, please learn from other people's mistakes, my mistakes. You have a lot, in this window, 12 months, you have time off. Please be organized. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of your families. Of course, then you have either young, not in age, but young coaches who, no, I will be in the office, no, I will be doing this, I will be doing that, this player needs this. And first I try to teach and share. No, I still want to be there. And then the other side will come. Okay, I care about you and your family, but actually I also care about winning. And if you are not recharged and refreshed, if you don't take care of your family, then you will have an impact on us being successful and the team being successful. We need you to be at your best. So take care of your family, take care of yourself, make sure that you're ready to be your best at work. So I regret not being better, but if I can help more and more people not make the same mistake, it makes me feel a tiny bit better.
Important message, especially in these times. So let's talk about coaching, because you are a coach. From your point of view, how did coaching job change through the years? What do you think?
Yeah, through the years, how it's changed. Well, in the last 2 to 3 years seems to have changed a lot and fast, but actually the signs were there. Maybe we saw them, maybe we didn't. If I think of managing people, players or staff, Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United, maybe had an impact on this. The old way used to be that the coach, the boss, the head coach knows everything, has every possible answer, has to control everything, has to do everything. And I absolutely spent many years trying to do that or doing that and being that person. I would say today, when you manage people, first of all, if you manage like that, then you're not going to have many staff, because what's the rest of the staff going to do? But also, if you manage like that, well, are you being the best for your players? Because do you know everything? Do you have to know everything? I would say delegating workload for the benefit of your team and the staff, finding experts to complement your staff rather than just get people that can do a bit of everything, which I feel like it used to be 10, 15 years ago. Who is the best person that can help our midfielders in the areas of attack and defense for our central midfielders? Who is the best person? Yes, we have physios and we have performance people, but who is the best person that can bring a player, off the medical table to then high performance on a football pitch? Who's going to do that middle piece? Going to take them from the medical table? Well, we have lots of good people that can do that. No, who's the best at that area? Being specific in roles and responsibilities and finding experts and delegating workload. And of course, as a head coach in my position, you have to make the final call and final decision, and you have to be educated in a lot of areas, but find people who are experts in helping you make the best decisions. I'd say that's one area. The player, same with staff, and we forget about staff a lot, but the player today compared to 10, 15 years ago, I think always involving the player has been important, guiding the player has been important, but in general, the command style of coaching used to, maybe we're just more aware and it never had an impact, but it used to be the way. Do this right now, my way, this is how we play, this is how you need to play. This used to feel like the way coaches led. Yeah, today, you no chance, no players are going to put up with just being told what to do, but not why and how and when. Today's players want to be more involved in the process. They are more educated because of social media and technology. They are more invested in their own journey. They're not putting it in the hands of just a coach or sporting director or someone else. How you lead players or lead people today, you have to empower them they already have this knowledge, they have this interest, empower them to own their journey and support them on that, guide them on that, not just tell them what you want for them. Give them the ability, the skill to make their own big decisions, but in your club and your team, understand their role and how they can be the best version of themselves. Short version of that is we can't just shout and tell people what to do. I don't know if that was ever effective. I just think we accepted it then. Today you have to involve people, and I think that's a big development in leading and in sport, but also business, empowering people to be the best person, the best version of themselves.
When you're telling me this, are there differences coaching an US team and an UK team? Would you say that?
Yeah, I'd say, I think of UK or in Europe and the US, you go through every country. Actually, in the Netherlands, when I was in the Netherlands, this was an interesting experience that actually depends which part of Netherlands someone was from, because there is a lot of different characteristics and personality traits that if you were from the East or from the West or from up north, like one of my staff were, it's some really big culture differences. So in general, everyone is an individual, male or female, Europe or US or English or Scottish, from Enschede or from Amsterdam. Yeah, everyone is different. I think first, not holding people to a generalization is important. But when I think about football in the US, it's intensity and mentality first, and then football and game intelligence and tactical work. I'd say in Europe, it's tactical work and game intelligence and perception and understanding football. Then it's about intensity and mentality and competition. So for me, it's just my experience has been which one is more important, and they're just the other way around. I think when you're in the highest level and you see the US women's national team playing against Brazil, or who else do they have a fantastic game against, or they're playing against France or Germany, you see high performing players and teams, and there's millimeter difference between these two amazing teams. But behind the scenes, my experience has been, what do they care about first or second is a slight difference. But in the end, to get to the top, you have to be good. You have to be good in tactics and football and decision making, but you also have to compete, and you have to have this never say die mentality, which we've normally attached to the US on the women's side. Actually, on the men's side growing up, that's what we attached to the Germans. Whenever we would face the Germans, we would, in a penalty shootout, it's like, well, Germany will win. They have this mentality. They have this ability to do it under pressure, and English are going to crumble. And now on the men's side, I think there's been development with our English national teams. Look at everyone individually, understand who they are, and then how can we help them is my first answer. But my experience, those are the biggest differences.
Cool. Very German is not to talk about salaries, but I will ask you this question. Was there a change of salaries for coaches in the past years?
Yeah. I started becoming a professional coach at 2012-13. I would say from 2013 up until 2021 was a period of gradual increases, which I think you find in all professions, and I'm talking about in women's football specifically. 2022, and I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the marketplace, things moved a lot with regards to player salaries, but also staff, not just coaches, but staff salaries. Things have increased a lot more. I understand when you say it's sensitive to talk about salaries. So my perspective is that, especially as a coach, that I understand the marketplace and I understand what is normal, and it's continually moving. So to be able to call other coaches and ask this actually is easy for me, because I think that education, that learning helps you make better decisions and to try and stay aware of what is happening. And coaches have been 99% always willing to discuss that with each other. And the idea is, and I'm sure the players and agents for players do the same, we want to continue to move things forward and to understand where the market is positive. I don't know if general managers or sporting directors of clubs will appreciate that, but for me, you have to be informed and understand where it's at.
You have also the chance to work with top players like Nadine Angerer, Christine Sinclair, Lindsay Orn, just to name some of them. What are the difference of coaching top teams and average teams?
Well, actually, when you say this, coaches will not often jump straight to talent. You'd start talking about loads of other things. What's the difference between a top player or a top team? At some point, talent has to be in there. When I say talent, their perception, their decision making, their athletic ability, their ball striking. Yes, of course, technical, tactical, there's obviously talent there. But when I move past talent, and you mentioned some all-time greats, some players that have won some amazing things. I think of the competitiveness, the desire. So I think of Christine Sinclair. Her desire to improve every single day she is on a football pitch is like someone I've never seen. And she's so deliberate and intentional about how she's going to improve her striking technique in this part of the pitch, or with the left foot on that part of the pitch. When I think of Lindsay Horan, this player wants to win every tackle, pass, shot, header. She wants to win and compete in everything. So of course, talent's there, but for me, I can't get past the competitiveness, the mentality, the desire to grow, the desire to compete. That would be the biggest thing. I've been fortunate. I've coached over 10 players who've won Champions League, European Championship. Over 10 have won Olympic gold, won World Cups. A very fortunate career. And I know we like to talk about players that have won. I also want to shout out some of the best players that have been the most important to, say, I think of my Portland Thorns 2020 and 21 team, was a player that didn't represent the country in Angela Salem. She was a number 6 defensive midfielder, and she was the glue. Christine Sinclair could do this, Lindsay Horan could do that, because Angela Salem was there, and she was there connecting, not just socially, but also on the pitch. And yeah, I think of the unsung heroes like Angela Salem, or also in this team, actually Emily Menges, who also didn't represent their country, but was critical to Portland Thorns, who's one of the most successful teams in the NWSL. Emily Menges was there for 10 years and was key every single day, as well as Christine Sinclair, Nadine Angara and Lindsay Horan.
We're definitely going to talk about your time at the Portland Thorns. But one question before, how difficult is it to lose a job as a coach, and how do you get motivated to find a new one?
Yeah, well, I would say I had a good run. I think 10, 11 years of always enjoying success. Now, you enjoy success, but you have a bad game, you have a bad week, you have a bad period, but enjoying success in multiple different environments, being recruited or headhunted to new environments. But also I had in the last few years 2 experiences where when I finished with the Netherlands national team, I would say that was a situation where I absolutely felt it was best for them and it was best for me that we go different ways. So your question, in that situation, it was easier to accept because I believed in it. More recently, I had a commitment to be in Washington back in the NWSL in 2023. And it was the strategy and the vision was a medium and long-term vision. And after 12 months, the decision was made to finish. That was a lot harder to accept because this was a team that had finished in the bottom the year before, second to bottom the year before. We didn't invest in the squad. Everything was about building for 2024. That was the strategy. And suddenly the opportunity to join, to go into 24 was taken away. So back to your question, in those last couple of experiences, yeah, I think awareness, self-awareness, awareness of reality, awareness of the situation, having awareness, not just this, but always, is really, really important. And also, I'm someone who is very curious and always engaged with trying to get closer to reality. And I think that my own perspective of reality isn't always the case. So always understanding the people around me, the people a bit further away, what their understanding is, awareness, but also reflection. And when you are aware of reality, when you're reflecting, then I think accepting and understanding is always going to be good, easier. Yeah, for me, I have a perspective also on this, that I've unfortunately had to tell players that their time is up in our club or our team or national team. I had to make hard decisions that saw players move on from environments they love. So yeah, after 10, 11 years, it was my turn for someone to say this to me. Well, yeah, now the shoe is on the other foot. And how would I expect other people to understand that situation when I had to make that hard decision. I want to show the same perspective when I'm in that situation. Looking forward, I think when you reflected, you have awareness, you understand who you are and where you fit best. I want to help people, I want to support people, I want to have a really big impact. Seeing people develop, but also seeing people win is something I'm very passionate about. So when you do that and you're aware of that, and it's easy to see what could fit you, now it's not about, can I get the job? Do they like me? Do they want me? It's more of, am I the best fit for them? Are they the best fit for me? And when you are the best fit, we all know, we all feel it. In the next few months, I still want a few more months because I'm enjoying my family time, but I will get back to work, and I'm in a really, really good mindset of, I'm going to go and be where I'm meant to be. I'm being very clear on where I can help and what fits my type of leadership and coaching. It's not about getting a job, it's about getting the right role where I can help people to the maximum. And being aware helps that. Understanding who you are helps that. My perspective of the answer, I've been very fortunate, and I really am respectful that not everyone has had the opportunity or success that I've been able to have because of great staff and great players, and they're in different situations. This is my journey, and yeah, I'm relaxed, and I'm enjoying my break, which was needed, and I'm looking forward to just finding the right fit next.
And we're very excited to know where you're up next to when the time is right too.
in a few months, maybe. Give me a bit more time to enjoy.
Let's talk about Portland Thorns. I think it's one of the most famous clubs for women's football, definitely. But also the club has to deal with a lot of changes in the past years. So how would you describe the situation in 2015 when you became a head coach of them?
Yeah, well, first of all, before 15, I had to coach against them. So I was in Washington. And the first time that I got to play against the Portland Thorns, we were on the team bus, we're pulling up at the stadium, and there's people everywhere. There's from kids to grandpa and grandma. There's all male, female, everyone, all ages, everywhere. And I was like, what's this? Is there a concert? Is there NFL or basketball? What's going on? Why? And then you realize they're all coming to watch, at the time, Washington Spirit against their home team, Portland Thorns. There were people camping outside the stadium because they wanted their tickets to be able to get into the general admission first and get the best seats. 20,000 people were going to be at this stadium, and I knew that attendance was going to be big, but when you feel the energy, then you get into the stadium, and for me, there's no place like Providence Park, the home of Portland Thorns, anywhere in the world. So before I coached for them, I was just in awe. And to be honest, that experience I just explained, I said to myself, I have to one day work at this club. This is where I want to be. I connect with this. This is how women's football players deserve to be supported and treated. And then I had the opportunity to go, 6 years coaching at this club, the best 6 years of my career, the best environment, club, players, staff that I've ever experienced. Of course, lots of challenges. Trying to put into words this club is very difficult, but the best thing is the fan base is so special and unique. Their connection to their team, their support of their team. And when you walk in this stadium on match day, and when they had family or friends come for the first time, like I just almost wanted to video them as they walked in the stadium to see the joy go through their bodies like it did for me every match day. I think what it comes down to is these players who play for Portland Thorns or against Portland Thorns get to experience what female athletes should have been experiencing for a long time and now are. But also, actually, one of my players said to me in the last few months, one of my ex-players said to me, better than I could say it, even though they're not at Portland anymore, I really believe they should succeed because they give an experience to the female player that no one else can in the world. And we want to see them succeed, and we want to see more females have this type of match day experience. 20,000 people singing from 30 minutes before the game till 30 minutes after the game. You can't go into a coffee shop, restaurant, wherever in the city without seeing Thorns and talking Thorns. It's for me, it's the most special place that I've ever been in football. I would come back at Christmas, go to Stamford Bridge or wherever to see a men's team in the Premier League. I mean this, I really mean this. I'd sit there watching this men's game, a couple of songs here, a couple of chants there. And of course, I haven't been to Anfield on a Champions League night, men's football. So I know that, I'm sure that's special. But I would go to men's stadiums and I'd just be like, get me back to Providence Park, get me back to Portland Thorns match day. And actually, last year, I never ever thought I would coach ever against them. I had to coach against Portland, and I did before my time and after my time. And I'm coaching another team. I'm all my old players and this fan base. It's the national anthem, and I'm preparing to coach my new team at this time. Yeah, and then I just got water coming down my eyes, and because I love this place, I have special memories, but just so emotional that I get to be back in this place where women's football is put exactly where it deserves to be, right at the top. And yeah, if you haven't been to Portland Thorns, book your tickets, get over and watch a game. It's an amazing, beautiful place.
I can see it in your eyes and I can hear it when you talk about this club. This is a very special time you're looking back to. So what do you think were the biggest change, and maybe what are the new strengths of this club's beside the crisis?
Yeah, so the fan base, and when I talk about Portland Thorns, I also think about other clubs in the US. Something that has been very good there in the US is the fan base and the match day experience. I think now, even when we see the best teams from Europe go and play there, more recently Chelsea and Arsenal were on the East Coast. When I was in Portland my final year, we had Barcelona and Lyon come to Portland. You always see from them that they appreciate the match day experience. So I think that continues to be a massive strength. And yeah, of course, there's always areas to improve. And I think when I think of the US clubs strengthening the development of players and staff and infrastructure around this match day experience continues to be important. And especially in the last 2 years, in the US, players used to go to college, university, until 21, 22. Then they would come into the professional environment. But now we're seeing 16, 17, 18-year-olds be signed, which has always happened in Europe on the men's and the women's side. That's starting to happen in the US. So now more than ever, having a safe environment and having the right resources to support every type of player, but also younger players and families, is becoming more important.
Earlier we talked about talent, and so what do you think? Does professional football is only about performance, or maybe also a bit about personal contacts then?
Yeah, if you go back 10, 15 years, you would say that, and longer, but your personal contacts on who you know has a massive impact on your potential pathway, your potential opportunity. I hope and I have optimism that it isn't about just who you know, it's about who you are and being the right person and having the right values and then conducting yourself in the right way. But if I think about 2024, so let's say 10 to 12 years ago, the players that were being signed by clubs, the players that were known, were probably because they've had an agent or someone that was pushing them, or they just played for the national team, because there wasn't much scouting and recruitment going on, identifying top talent. So then knowing the right person is more important. I really hope today that there is a lot better in scouting and identifying top talent. And it's not just about who you know, it should be about who you are and the qualities that you have. It's something that actually I always have been passionate about. How not just calling people I know, because when you call people you know to ask about staff or coaches or players, then you're putting this little circle around the type of talent you could reach. And the people that you know are the people that you probably like and you probably have similar qualities to, so then you keep getting to the same types of players or the same types of stuff. I always worked hard on trying to get out of that. Two quick stories. Stefania Benini is an Argentinian I remember in 14-15 in Washington, I was looking for which countries were not going to go to the World Cup in 2015, so they would be with our club all year, top talent. And I saw that there's lots of countries that weren't going. One was Argentina. I thought there must be talent in Argentina. So I work months and months and months. I couldn't find any players, couldn't find any contacts to know where to look and how to look. And then finally I was driving down the motorway, and finally the national team coach of Argentina called me back after months. And Mark, I have one player to talk to you about. And it was a WhatsApp message, and I saw it, and I on the highway, which is the next exit, come off, parked, can we speak? We spoke about Estefania Benini. We brought Estefania to Washington. She's now playing in Spain and had an amazing career. This is one story. Actually, another story which goes back to, I remember watching a YouTube video back in the day and seeing Alexia Putellas dribble around everyone, and everyone says she's going to be the female Messi, which I struggled with then. Why can't she just be Putellas? But I struggled with then. I saw this, so then I was like, how do I contact this person? And we reached out, found a few people. You work your way. I never give up. And this was 2014 in Washington. Actually, Putellas and one other player from Barcelona was this close to coming to sign for Washington. Everything was done, just needed to sign. And Barcelona wasn't investing in their club at that point the way they are obviously today. In the last second, they changed their mind and didn't come, obviously. My point there is, yes, it's good to know people, but if you only rely on that, you're only going to get to the same answers. I always try to move outside of that network. And today, data, video, the ability to look for great staff and great players. It's easier with resources, but still it comes down to, do you want to do the work, and are you willing to do the work? And for me, it's always been a part of who I am and how I try to continue to find great talent.
That definitely brings us to our next topic, the agents. How do you view the role of an agent, and what do you think, what age or what stage of career do you think it makes sense for a player to have one?
Yeah, well, when I think of age, I had a conversation 2 or 3 weeks ago, a young 16-year-old female player, the parents would say, I think we need an agent. Actually, someone else in the family was a male player, ex-professional player. And that male player said, I never had an agent at 16, and I didn't have an agent until I was 20, 21. You don't need an agent. My first impression is, at that age, well, I understand the old thinking that you don't need it yet. But actually, at this young age, what you do need is education, and you do need to be supported in various paths that are about to come your way. So, but it also scares me that a 16-year-old and that we're already jumping on them, and they don't even know who they are. They don't even know what type of career they're going to have. But what it comes down to, does a 16-year-old need an agent or not? For me, it comes down to quality. So the quality of the agent. Are they someone who is going to care about the person, that they are still young, they have a lot of things to figure out in life, and really care about their journey, not as an agent, well, my journey is for them. Who are they? So for players of all ages, I think having an agent is a positive thing. But what do you want in an agent? What's your priorities? Speak to 2 or 3 agents, 4 agents, and look for the things you wrote down. I'm looking for these things in my agent, these qualities in my agent. Speak to 3 or 4 agents. Do they match the qualities of things I care about? And if so, then maybe that's a good path. It must be about what you want and what you value in your journey, because no one else is living your journey. If you don't do that, well then, yeah, the flashiest agent who can promise the world, the amazing coach that can promise the world, the brilliant sporting director that can promise the world, then they are going to get your attention. I think that's a dangerous path. What do you want? What do you care about? What do you need? What are these qualities, these things? Then base your decision on who your agent is with. And yeah, hopefully my answer is, yeah, I think agent representation is important. It's a very complicated world out there, but you've got to find the person that fits you and your needs the best.
So what are you thinking about agents that are not just representing players, they're also representing club managers and coaches at the same time? Can they do their job in a good quality or not?
Yeah, so in my experiences over the last 10 to 12 years, I never had any issues or very few issues of conflict of interest. But I also know that that's not because I haven't experienced a conflict of interest or negativity or situations that aren't healthy, doesn't mean they don't exist. So first of all, I do think that players and coaches, staff or sporting directors there is a need for representation when that representation or that role of that person is abusing that opportunity to not help the individual, then that's a problem and an issue. I'm fortunate that I haven't had to experience that. I'm sure it exists, but it also comes back to each player, each coach, each person who needs representation, being clear on what they value, what they need to make good choices and good decisions. And I'm also have the perspective from 10 years ago. Agents play a key role in the marketplace, and you experience a lot of agents that do things differently, and you also get to choose who you like to work with. And I think who you choose to work with says a lot about you and your team and your club. And I actually had one negative experience, 2015-16 time, where I saw the way that one agent was treating their players and taking advantage of the situation. And I made the decision right then that me and wherever I'm working, I'm not going to work with that person. I also know that in 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, there's going to be a top talent that I really want, and they will be with that agent. And now I have a problem because we all want the top talent. But I accepted then. I will rather miss out and lose on this top talent, which did happen later on, that I'll miss out on that because my morals and my values, no, I'm not going to work with someone who is going to take advantage of their players the way that this person did. And to this day, I still haven't worked with that person. But again, that's aligned with me and who I am and the team and the clubs that I'm representing.
Let's go more into this women's football in general. What do you think? Why are still just a few women are coaches or board members right now?
Yeah, well, first I acknowledge that there is very few. That has to change, that has to improve. Why? I think there are a load of different reasons. If I zoom in, I would say that it is just harder, and I'm saying this from my experience, for a female to get on the coaching ladder or to work in the board, the front office of clubs. It is just harder because of family and life, harder because they aren't given the same respect, they aren't given the same open doors that a male that has played, for example, are given. There are loads of reasons, but I would like to talk about two examples that I've experienced that I've been felt very positive about. When I was in the Netherlands for 12 months, it really impressed me how many female leaders were in either head coach positions and mostly actually in the board as sporting directors or general managers. A lot of ex-female players were in key critical positions in the Eredivisie. Manon Melis, I think of actually, who has had a great career. I tried to sign once, and now she is there doing a fantastic job at her club. There is a lot of examples, and I hadn't seen that in the US. Seen it a little bit in England, but not much. And then it's like, why and how are the Netherlands getting it right? And I just think they're smart, logical people. So they hire the best person. The best person could be male or female. So they make smart decisions. But also women's football in the Netherlands and the league and the development of the national team has been growing. And we've seen players now finish their career and come into football. And there had been opportunities, pathways for them. In the US, the NWSL, there's been 3 pro leagues, but the NWSL has been the one that's lasted the longest and is still going strong, started in 2013. So we're now 11 years later, and we're starting to see players who've played many years in this league. Jouw Everbush West, who is the general manager at Gotham FC, We've seen Cami Levin, who is the general manager over at San Diego, previously at Kansas. We saw Alex Singer be a general manager in Houston. These are all people that played in the league. My point there is, as the league has had stability, as players have finished their career, we are seeing them come into coaching. Bev Yanes, who is the coach of Racing Louisville, or the players I just mentioned as general managers. So as I see that, I now see the pathway, the natural cycle of being in football, now having opportunities, and modern clubs being open that hiring the best person is a really smart idea, male or female. So in the Netherlands, they'd been through that cycle. In the US, they're now there. I'm curious in England. Now in England, the WSL, how long it's been professional, I think in the next 5 years, we're going to start to see more players that have been in football and playing in football coming into the coaching. Sonia Banpastor, Camille Aberley, who are the Chelsea head coach and assistant coach right now. They obviously come from France. We're going to start to see more English players doing it. We've seen Jill Scott, Steph Horton, Izzy Christensen, who have gone into media and punditry with BBC or Sky Sports. I hope we can nudge some people into helping work for clubs, but I'm sure when we speak to them, opportunity and doors being shut or open have a big role to play as well.
At the same time, more and more money is running into the football women business. How do you think this affects the change of players, in your opinion?
Yeah, good question. Because my first instinct is the more money and finances in football for players is a very big positive. It's been needed and welcome for a long, long time. It's still not where it should be. Men's football has had investment, whether it's through facilities and resources or funding or media. There's been so much investment in men's football for so many years. And the argument, well, there's loads of people that watch men's football. Not all. There was also in England a lot of people that watched women's football 50, 60 years ago or longer before it was banned. And then people stopped watching because it was banned, and then it was allowed, and then you're allowed to play again. Suddenly people want to watch. There's been investment in the men's. There's now been good investment in the women's in the last few years, but there needs to be more. Great for the female player. As a head coach, I'm very passionate that there is opportunities now, obviously not just in the club environment, national team environment to earn money, but there is more commercial and sponsorship opportunities for the female player. My role as a head coach has been, I really want to support players to be able to take advantage of those situations, but they're also how can we manage to keep the welfare and the well-being of that player as the priority. You know, you play on Saturday in the league, you then play Wednesday in the Champions League, a Thursday is 1 day off, the first day off in 2 weeks, but you fly to Milan to do a photo shoot. Yeah. Well, if that's that one window for that player to make a lot of money, which we have to support, how do we help that player leave the club and when they come back, return back in, understanding where they are physically, mentally, emotionally? How do we prepare them for training? And I know, as I say this, it's like, no, football first, winning. Yeah, you know, when the women's footballers have the salaries of men's footballers, then maybe we can focus more on that. But right now, I'm very passionate that we have to support and make sure that female players can take advantage of the financial opportunities there are, because there haven't been enough of them. And I'm happy, excited to see that it is starting to grow.
You have a lot of experience in the US as a national coach in the UK. What do you think? What is the best system? Is it the European League or is it the US League? What are the differences? Maybe you can explain the difference a bit more.
Yeah, well, let me start with where growing up in England, a traditional model of promotion and relegation, where it's do or die and you earn everything. If you want to get to the top, you have to get promoted through all the leagues. You have to earn that. And if you don't invest and you don't have good talent, you don't have good coaches, you're not a good team, then you get relegated and you move away from these top leagues. So that's one model we see in Europe, of course. After going to the US, not just in women's football, in all the major sports, you see a closed model. So the benefits of the first is it's tradition. It feels morally right that you earn or you lose depending on how well you do. But from a business perspective, when we look at the US market, and I'll use the NWSL clubs as an example, it's a closed market. You have to bid to get in and prove that you are going to do the best job in facilities, in structure, in resources. But you also have to pay a fee, like they do in the NFL or the baseball or basketball. Go back to, between 2013 in the US, 2013 to about 2019 to 2020, clubs were worth, they're probably losing money, but probably worth $1 million. And to the expansion fee to come in was probably $1 million roughly. In 2022, Angel City and San Diego Wave were coming into the league around 21, and they were going to start in 22. As soon as I saw that, and we saw the incredible investment that these clubs were making, and also celebrity club owners that were joining the ownership groups, I remember saying to a lot of people, if you're thinking about investing in women's football, do it now, because these club values are going to explode. And I didn't maybe they'll be worth 5 million one day, maybe worth 10 million one day. But I'm also always felt that investing in women's sports is not just something that should be done, but there's a massive business opportunity. While it's not my world and I'm not super knowledgeable, I've always felt that when you do that and you do that right, there is a lot of money to be made for business owners. So 2019, 2020, clubs are worth 1 million. Michelle Kang brought the Washington Spirit in 2022 for around 30 something million. The new expansion fee today to join the NWSL, I think, is 50, 60 million. We saw the San Diego Wave that brought in for 1 or 2 million in 21. They just sold to a new owner for, I think, 120 million. So 1 million buy-in and selling for 120 million is a lot of money someone's made. So the traditional market, as we see here in Europe, that's what I've grown up in. That's what I'm very passionate about. But you also can see with a closed market, the financial business model is very appealing. Now, when I say a club was worth 1 million 4 years ago, but now it's worth 100 to 200 million, someone is, a business owner, so they're seeing that as an investment opportunity. That means we're getting more business people wanting to invest. Now, to make the most of your investment, you're going to want a great team. You want great players, you want great staff, you want great facilities, you want to, like we see on the men's side, you invest in your football club to be successful, but also, I'm sure, to see a return of your investment. So the open market model and the closed model, I think there's benefits to both. You're not going to get me to say which one I prefer. I just think there's lessons to be learned from both. But we are seeing in the US more investment in women's sports than ever because of the opportunity for investors to make money.
At the beginning, you told us that you have to invest a lot of time, but also a lot of money. And this brings me to my next question, because the coaching license is getting to be more and more expensive. I think the pro license each year is about 19,000 euros. That's a lot of money. What is your opportunity about this?
Yeah, I read and hear and see some of the challenges that you're talking about today, and of course, then I want to show empathy. And I think if this was me starting out, and this was the reality, how could I have done it? Could I have made the steps? When I rewind to 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, around the years that I was doing my B license and A license, what you just said, which is it's really hard to get on and it's really expensive, that was my reality back then. Like I explained my story, I felt like I was being blocked, and I'd saved up thousands at the time and had to, we didn't buy a house, we didn't go on holiday for many years because of this. So while I don't understand today's challenges, in my time of coming through licensing, I had my own challenges, but I really believe in education. I've done my UEFA licensing, UEFA B, UEFA A license when I went to the US. And this, of course, most of the time I paid for myself, but you do also contractually, you can include support for your coach education. And I have had some support. In the US, I wanted to also not just skip it. I wanted to do it to understand the culture and also to develop the US B license, the US A license, and then the US Pro license. I finished in 21, which is the best course I've ever done. I'm currently applying for the UEFA Pro license as well. I'm experiencing these costs because it's the first time I've been back in Europe for 10, 11, 12 years. I really care about education. I really care about growth. I understand that it is unbelievably difficult and expensive. I don't probably have a grasp on the realities of starting out as much anymore. And it probably lands for me. If you want to be a coach and you want to invest, just like you wanted to be a doctor, if you wanted to be a pilot, it's difficult. It's hard. You have to find a way. But I also think in football, we're now cutting off the pathway and the path and the quantity of maybe good people getting into football with high costs and lack of course opportunities, because you can only accept a certain amount of people. So it's tough, but you've got to find a way. And I think also federations also have to figure out how can we make this cost effective while opening the door a little bit more, but not at the expense of quality. And that's where maybe that's my main point. If we want to move the game forward, it has to be difficult and challenging. It has to be quality. We cannot open the floodgates and then lose quality in how we coach our young players.
One last question to finish this great conversation. Where and how would you like to see the women's football in 5 years?
Well, you say 5 years. I think we have to go by the month or by the year right now, because it's exploding. It's going very, very fast. Number one, I hope that we keep an eye, because I want to protect the quality, but also the well-being of our players. Keep an eye on the match calendar. FIFA and the domestic leagues, the balance in the last year hasn't felt great. There are too many games and competitions, and everyone wants everything from everyone. I know the conversation is happening on the men's side, but on the women's side, there already isn't the facilities, resources, staffing to help athletes play 2 games, 3 games a week for 9, 10 months a year, and then major tournaments. So can we keep an eye and make sure we take care of the quality of women's football, but also the well-being of our players? Point one. Point two, yes, in England, I've seen the Emirates filled with a lot of fans. Stamford Bridge and Old Trafford also sometimes. But I hope in all countries, like I got to experience with Portland Thorns and a few other environments in the US, that we get to see female footballers celebrated and supported with the passion that they deserve. The quality of the product is absolutely at the highest level we've ever seen. But also the match day experience for women's football, you can take your kids, you can take your grandparents, you can go with your partner, and you can just have this great high quality football match and also have a good time and not be stressed out. Sometimes we are on the men's side. So I hope the support in the stadiums can continue to improve. And most importantly, more females that want to, more female people, they're getting into football because they're playing, staying in football. And that's more about clubs and federations providing pathways and opportunities. More top female football people in clubs, in decision-making positions to help continue the growth of this great sport.
Great and wise words to end this episode. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't believe that time is already over. It was amazing to hear your opinion and also the stories and experience you made. And also thank you to be part of this episode of the Rise of Women's Football podcast. And I can't wait to see you next time.